Fashion is the first thing we see about each other. So it's incredibly powerful.
Fashion can tell a story. At its best, it expands what the body can be.
There are just so many ways in which the human body takes form. How then does that impact what we layer on top of it?
No longer can we debate the idea that fashion is art. Fashion has always been art.
The pressure!
We're in the costume center. For the moment, we're using it as a way to store our mannequins and dress some of the pieces for the exhibition. But these are actually our traditional galleries.
But not anymore.
Not anymore, yeah. It's so exciting. We're now moving upstairs into the lights.
The Met collects many things: paintings, sculpture, textiles, arms and armor, but especially also fashion. And we want to make sure that it's understood that fashion is a fantastic form of art. To do that, we want to make sure that the galleries devoted to that would be centrally located.
The Great Hall is one of the most recognizable interiors in New York City. Our galleries come directly off of that space.
We sort of started by taking a deep dive into the museum building itself, looking at old drawings, understanding the way it came together. But it's actually not one building, it's 20-something buildings that have grown and shifted over time.
The title of the show is called Costume Art. It has two connotations. One, it references our history. So before we were founded in 1946 as a curatorial department at the Met, we were known as the Museum of Costume Art, and it was an independent entity, but also a statement about the status of fashion itself. I think that when you walk around the museum, you see these wonderful examples of the dress body, but it's just a representation of the dress body. I think where fashion has the edge over art is the fact that it's about our lived embodied experience. So I very much wanted the exhibition to focus on that distinction between the representation of the dress body and also fashion as this living art form in which it expresses very complex ideas about identity. I think it's been interesting working with different curators. I mean, we've done shows in the past where we've collaborated with specific departments, but we've never done a show before where we're collaborating with every single department in the museum. And Navina was actually the first person I spoke to.
The Met is an amazing place that can tell global stories because it has the ingredients, it has everything at its fingertips. We have a wonderful painting from the 18th century from one of the courts of India, from Hyderabad, which shows a woman in a very transparent muslin. It's so light, it's so fine, that the body looks almost nude under it. In every case, Andrew has found a response in contemporary fashion to these pieces, and that's what's making them come alive.
So I wanted to start off the exhibition with the art historical distinction between the naked and the nude. The naked is really about one's lived vulnerability, whereas the nude is a sort of mediated construction that's often posed or aestheticized. In any time and place, the naked body is never naked. It's always dressed in the cultural ideals of a particular moment in time. And then you go into the main part of the exhibition, and it's separated into two main galleries. One is focusing on a sort of diversity of bodily being. And we start off with the classical body in that section, because I wanted to look at and start off with a body that has often been valorized. It's a body that has always been reified both in art and also within fashion. And then we progress to a section called the abstract body, which is in a way the opposite of the classical body, where we have many women's bodies that are contorted and distorted through undergarments like the corset, the crinoline, the pannier, and the bustle. Even though they seem radically opposite of the natural body, they're both about achieving an ideal of beauty. So opposite the abstract body, we focus on something we call the reclaimed body. And the reclaimed body mainly feature female designers who do the opposite, who use understructures, padding, bindings to challenge these normative conventions of beauty. So it's the opposite of what the abstract body is about. The reclaimed body is sort of introducing three other body types and reclaiming these bodies within both art and culture: the pregnant body, the corpulent body, and the disabled body. So that's the first half of the exhibition. And the second half, it's all about universality and commonalities, everything we all share. So skin, the anatomy, blood, but also our our experiences of life, like aging and death or mortality. So we have bodily diversity in one gallery and body universality in the other. Then we end with something I'm calling the epidermal body, which in a way is the largest and most salient organ. We all have skin, but all of our skin tones and textures are very different. So it brings them together and in a way ends with a celebration of plurality and the pluralistic body. I think in the past, in my previous exhibitions, whenever we talk about diversity, I've always integrated it within our exhibitions. But I do think particularly now, I don't think we're at a place where we normalize diversity. It has become otherized, and you see it reflected in fashion.
What's special about costume art is that the question it asks is fashion already art? Or does it become art through embodiment? I have dwarfism. I have a physical, apparent disability. Fashion has always been incredibly important to me because it's a vocabulary. It's an armor. And that's still, I think, how many people use clothes, whether or not they make that conscious decision. So to be able to put that in place in this exhibition, with the explicit inclusion of different kinds of bodies, putting them on pedestals, what it will mean very physically when people come into this exhibition is that for the first time, they will look at bodies that maybe they have overlooked with a sense of awe and wonder because they are looking up. I spend my life looking up. So I'm really intrigued and curious about what that change will mean for others within that space.
I think for me, the body obviously means something very specifically to me as a trans woman. I think that it has always kind of been a point of conversation for others, but I think to reclaim that and really find what makes me feel beautiful as an individual and makes me feel supported and loved and able as an individual is quite special. For me, it means express things and show the strength that I have in my body, show the muscles that I have, show the ass that I'm hopefully gonna have on the Met Gala day, but all of these different things.
I can't tell you how much it means to me to be a part of this. I feel like disability and disabled people in the world overall is the most underrepresented, underserved population. As we can see, I have quadriplegic cerebral palsy. I am visibly disabled and I use a wheelchair. And so to be recognized in the arts in this kind of way and fashion in this way is so deeply touching and meaningful.
As a performer and as an artist, my body is my instrument. And I often say that it's my first costume. The skin I'm in and the body that I have as a dancer, it's what we're working with.
Two of the things I love most in the world, costume and art. The way our body can be changed and subverted, the way our form can alter and inform our mental state is something so divine to me.
The show is really focusing on the body and really focusing on the idea of one's lived embodied experience. We felt it was very important to actually include mannequins based on real men and women, particularly in the corpulent body and the disabled body sections.
Andrew had written me to ask if I would be a mannequin in this show, and the outfit that was made for me was already going to be in the show. It was important to me that it actually be on my body, specifically my body now. You go into this room that has about 100 SLR cameras positioned.
And even just thinking about getting my body made into a mannequin was an incredibly vulnerable process.
I was in the middle of this thing. I was sitting right here, and then around me were thousands of cameras just scanning me and taking pictures of me to make the model. And it was really awesome. I felt like I was in a 90s futuristic anime.
They sent them off to Italy where they would be converted into a 3D scan and then carved.
I always find within exhibitions, one of the challenges is how do we sort of bridge the gap between the art you're looking at, the artworks you're looking at, and the visitors. So I'd always sort of thought about the idea of using a mirrored face as a way of diminishing that gap between the visitor and the artwork. I came across the work of Sama Hajaji, an extraordinary artist who had used polished steel faces. And what was so interesting about them is because they're made out of polished steel rather than mirror, there's a depth to them. It's like your reflection in a wishing well or a pool. It's not a sort of mirror idea. It's slightly distorted. And I think that how we all see ourselves in the mirror is always slightly distorted. It's never true.
I love and also think the polished faces are really funny, which, you know, I'm really glad Andrew's not sitting beside me because he would probably shake his shoulders at me. I'm really interested to see what people take from it.
It's very interesting. I love that idea that they chose to do that. I feel like it speaks to a lot. They're going to see themselves reflected in me, and I'm going to see myself reflected in them.
I think one of the ambitions for the show is we're not trying to sort of like reverse a hierarchy that's always existed within art museums where fashion's at the bottom rung of the ladder. It's more about focusing on equitability. So the idea of equitability between objects, whether it's art or fashion, but also an equitability of bodies, whether it's the classical body or the disabled body.
There is a risk that if you don't honor them in this way, people moving through the space go through it passively without noting that it is different. But also for those who live in those bodies, to see their bodies singled out with respect, grace, admiration, and with psychological safety at the heart of it. What can that be a catalyst for?
When you have the opportunity to work with a range of body types, you're going to get an incredible range of results. And I think that's something that's important about seeing more diversity in fashion. You know, and I think about it so connected to, you know, the way I talk about the importance of having more diversity in classical dance, that when you see different body types exploring the same type of movement, it's going to look completely different.
It's really amazing for someone like me to be there, but also like there's a lot of really amazing women and men and everything in between who are a part of it. And I think that that's really special and really unique. And I hope that I serve for all of us. The pressure!
The emphasis on the individual, what it is that makes us unique, what it is that makes us different. It is about seeing those moments, seeing those pockets of individuality and highlighting their beauty.
I think it's so important that there is representation and equity and diversity and inclusivity again when the world, as it's standing in our socio-political climate, is trying so hard to like destroy that. It's so important more than ever to uplift these communities of people who are going through so much and who are being persecuted so much.
Fashion listens to the market. So when the market's demanding to reflect what actually is, frankly, in our society, fashion will follow suit.
The show hopefully will resonate and hopefully will foster ideas of empathy and compassion towards each other.
It's going to open up a conversation about the beauty in us as human beings. There's so many stories to tell.
Hopefully it will mean that when we start to look at fashion as an art form, it isn't just about new, it isn't just about now, it is about the voyage that we all go on through our lives.
I'm personally so tired of being an other. I'm tired of being an other. Even though I am Black and disabled and trans, I'm still Aariana Rose Philip. And I'm still a musician and an artist and a model. I'm just like you.